Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. We got one heck of a winter storm going on up here this morning at the cabin. Let me take a look out the back window here, and you can actually see one of our deer hunting stands right there with the snow on the roof there. We just got about 4 inches of snow last night, and then we got about an inch of rain on top of it. So it is just a disaster out here now. Trenton's out on the John Deere right now trying to scrape the driveway clean everything up before it freezes into just a thick mess. And so that's what he's working on right now. I'll take a look over here, and I think he's somewhere out here. I hear him out. He's out on the other end of the driveway. But anyways, we came up here for the last 4 days, just after Christmas now. We came up to work on our in-floor heat system. And we did this a month ago. We tried to get it going, and I'm going to explain what I did wrong, thinking that it could be done that way. And I'll tell you what we had to do to correct it. And hopefully somebody learns from my mistake here, because I couldn't find enough information actually on the interweb to tell me that you can't do this. I heard there was, on some of the websites I went to, people said, well, let me correct myself. They said you can't, but they really didn't explain why it couldn't be done. And I am one of them guys like, well, I need to know why, otherwise I'm going to try it and I'm going to figure out why. And I figured out why. So I'm going to explain why you cannot use a tankless hot water heater to heat your in-floor heat system. So let's walk inside. I'll show you what we have going on now. And we did this so we could keep the cabin heated while we're not around. Here's our new boiler we just put in. We put this in on Thursday. And I've been test running it on and off for the last 4 days now. We primarily heat, when we're here, we heat with our wood stove, which keeps it a very comfortable 75-80 in here, with the thing dampened all the way down and barely put any wood in it. That thing puts out a lot of heat. But this cabin is very well insulated, so it maintains the heat very easily. So here's our boiler. And what we originally started off with was a tankless hot water heater. And now I'm going to explain why you cannot use a tankless hot water heater. And hopefully I can explain this simple enough that anybody can understand why you do not use a tankless hot water heater. A tankless hot water heater is designed to flow a lot of gallons of water per minute, say over 5 gallons of water per minute, and designed to run at higher pressure, like regular water pressure, 45 to 55 psi of water pressure. Because inside of there's a flame that's heating a coil with the water going through it, and it's a small coil, because that's how you transfer the heat to the water so rapidly, is that small winding of coil. So the tankless hot water heater I had was designed to run in a house with 3 bathrooms. So you could basically turn on every bathtub on hot and never run out of hot water. So that hot water heater was designed to flow a lot of gallons and a lot of pressure. So I put that in thinking, I've done this on another in-floor heat system, but I used a tank hot water heater, had a tank on it, and it worked great. Closed loop system, I ran about 10 psi of pressure in it. Worked excellent. Never ever had an issue with it. Ran it for 10, 15 years, and then I converted over to an outdoor boiler. Then I put a transfer plate on. That's a whole nother video to try and explain that system now. But with this system here now, so with that tankless hot water heater, what was going on is we have a transfer pump, or a flow pump right there, or circulating pump, I'm sorry. It's a circulating pump. Circulates the water through the in-floor heat system. That circulating pump operates at approximately 1.9 gallons per minute. So there's one of our first issues right there, is that circulating pump is never going to flow enough gallons per minute to keep that tankless hot water heater happy. The second is, we're only running 18 to 24 pounds of pressure in this system. There's the second problem why you can't use a tankless hot water heater, is you don't have enough pressure to keep the tankless hot water heater happy. Now the deal with a tankless hot water heater is they're built like a computer inside. I took the cover off and there was more wiring and circuits and sensors, and you couldn't believe what it looked like inside. And the reason is so it runs safely. And being it could not sense it was getting enough flow of water, and it sensed it wasn't getting enough pressure. So what was happening, it was boiling the water in that coil, because the water wasn't flowing through that coil around the burner fast enough, so it would start to boil it, and the hot water heater with all the safety devices in it would sense that it was boiling that water and would shut it down. Great for in a house. It's a great safety feature. It's great for an in-floor heat system too, because you don't want to send boiling water out into your in-floor heat system. So in a small nutshell, is basically with that hot water heater, that tankless one, it was superheating the water so fast that it would shut itself down to prevent damage to the hot water heater and damage to your appliances and damage to the boiling of the water. So there was no possible way I was ever going to get that tankless hot water heater to work. And it's unfortunate. It was brand new. I bought it off of Craigslist for 1/3 of the price of a brand new one, and I got the vent kit and everything with it. And I thought we'd get into this in-floor heat system cheaply. Well, that just never seems to work out. We tried, failed, and what do? You move on. So that's what we did, is now we bought this boiler. This boiler is designed to run an in-floor heat system. That's what it's made for. That's what it does. It's designed to run at lower flow, lower pressure. It has all those features in there to know that it's running at all that lower pressure, lower flow, all that stuff. It's designed to do this. And I'm glad now that we spent the money to make this happen, because we could set our temperature in here at 55 degrees and it'll always stay 55 in here while we're gone. And we don't have to risk freezing. Once we get the cabin plumbed with water and stuff, we don't have to worry about freezing anything up. And I'll show you a couple of the features on here. It's kind of neat. Right on the control panel here on the front, you can see here, right now our water temperature is at 100 degrees. And I can hit the info button and I'll show you what the in water coming in right now is at 84 degrees. So right now I have the thermostat set at 80 so that this would be running right now, because that's what the cabin is at right now, is 80 because of our wood stove. It keeps it warm in here. So I had to turn it up to 80 to get it to run. So right now my concrete's really warm, basically, is what it's telling us, because it's not really taking much heat out of the water right now. And normally if the thermostat was lower right now, it would have shut off because the concrete's so warm. You can hit info again. And right here we're flowing at 2.2 gallons per minute. So that's a nice feature, that you can see what you're flowing at, what your in temperature is, and what your water temperature is of your boiler and what it's set at. Over here, I have a pressure gauge mounted into the system so I can see what our water pressure is at. And right now we're at 16 psi. With the small pump that I have, that was the highest I could build the pressure to in our system, the pump that we pumped our glycol into the system with. I mean, we put a siphon hose into that bucket there onto a pump and fed it into this lower valve down here. This is where we pumped our glycol into. And then up above up here, I have another valve that we had a hose running out of that back down into the bucket so that we could circulate the fluid through the system for a while to get all the air out of everything. And then once I felt that all the air was out of it, I closed that valve off and let my pump run until it built this much pressure. It was the highest I could get it with my small pump. And then I closed that valve there while the pump was running to keep that pressure in the system, and then disconnected all my hoses, and then we fired the system up and ran it. And like I said, it seems to be running good. So the next time I come up, I'm going to bring a higher pressure pump with, so that I can get this up in the ideal range of 18 to 24. And I'll get it somewhere in the middle of that range. But it's a pretty simple system. I basically, with watching a few videos and seeing some pictures, I put all this stuff together. I got a pressure tank up here. We got our air horn up there that bleeds the air off in the system. We got a pressure relief up here in case there's too much pressure in the system. It'll blow it off, the pressure relief. Basically, like I said, that's my valve for when I'm filling the system. And we got another valve down here for filling the system. And then I got some shut-off valves here and there for service work. You can shut the valve off on either side of the pump to be able to remove the pump if you have to service the pump. You can shut valves off down there if you have to disconnect a hose somewhere. It's nice to be able to shut some stuff off if you need to. And this controller right here runs to our thermostat that's mounted on the wall over there. So it's the 110 controller that kicks the pump on. So when the thermostat clicks on, it makes the contact on that small wire and tells this thing to kick the pump on then. And then the pump circulates the water through the system. Now some people put the pump on the outgoing side, and I read somewhere a few people said, well, put the pump on the outgoing side because the fluid's a little cooler then, and it will keep the longevity of the pump. Now if it's right or wrong, I don't know. It's working this way on all my other systems that I have at home on my outdoor boiler. My pumps are on the outgoing side, so they're running the hot water all the time. But this way seems to make sense to me, is run cooler water through the pump versus running your outgoing water. And either way it's mounted, it's still flowing the water in a closed loop system. It doesn't matter if it's on that side or on this side. To me, you're still making the circulation. So I don't know if it's right or wrong. Maybe somebody will comment on this video and say, you can't do it that way. But that is our new heating system in the cabin. And hopefully I explained that tankless hot water heater theory versus running an actual boiler to do this system clearly enough so somebody doesn't make the same mistake that I made here. So thanks for watching our video. Thanks for all the subscribers. We're gonna get all this mess cleaned up outside and we're gonna head home now. Like I said, we've been up here for 4 days now, making sure that this is gonna operate correctly while we're gone. So hopefully when we come back, it's at least 55 degrees in the cabin. Nothing worse than showing up here. And we come up here almost every weekend. And when it gets really cold out, when it's 15, 20 below out and you show up in here and it's about 0 in the cabin, it's a solid 24 hours before it's actually pretty comfortable in here. So this will be nice to show up and actually have a little bit of heat in here, and then we start the wood stove to bring the temperature up. So this system here will always be set at 55 degrees. I won't mess with it at all. Just set it at 55, leave it at 55, and that's what we'll run with all the time. So thanks for watching everything. Thanks for watching the videos. Thanks, guys.